Closing arguments in the Jodi Arias case have come to an end. Her fate will soon be in the hands of a jury. Good evening, Arizona. I'm Heather Moore.
And I'm Brandon Lee. Jurors were deadlocked for the first time around, and now a new panel is about to make a life or death decision. Our Mike Watka is joining us live from the courthouse tonight with today's final appeals by the attorneys. Mike?
Yeah, Brandon, very dramatic closing arguments in Jodi Arias' retrial today. Closing arguments sharply contrasting in style and certainly contrasting in aim, with prosecutor Juan Martinez asking for death, but the morning starting off with defense attorney Kurt Nurmi pleading for life.
I think he gets a B. B+, A-. I think he's doing a very good job trying to soften up Jodi Arias to this jury.
With his client's life literally hanging in the balance, a soft-spoken, somber, yet amiable Kurt Nurmi making a final push for sympathy from the jurors who will decide whether Jodi Arias lives or dies.
I think he's getting a B+. Clearly getting a B+. I think he's doing a great job in pulling it together so that the jury will think to themselves, is she like me? Is she like somebody I know? Or is she an animal?
He's actually using the state's witness, Dr. DeMarte, and everything she had to say about borderline personality and how that affected Jodi Arias and how Travis Alexander met a mentally ill girl.
Throughout his presentation this morning, Nurmi showing jurors pictures of Arias as a child and with Travis Alexander in happy times.
He was actually saying that this is a girl whose life you have in your hands. This is a snapshot of a girl whose life you have in your hands. So he's really pushing to have this jury give her a life sentence.
One very dramatic moment when Travis Alexander's family got up in unison and exited the courtroom while Nurmi was speaking. Then late this afternoon, it was prosecutor Juan Martinez's turn, and he came out swinging, showing photos of Travis Alexander's nearly severed head and saying this isn't a story about love, but a story about murder, and then focusing at length on the charges of pornography on Travis Alexander's computer.
All respect to Juan Martinez, he seems like a guy that is tired of this case, who has been in the weeds all closings, talking about the porn. Why be on the defense field? That's what he's doing. He's fighting on the defense field.
Indeed, a number of courtroom observers seem to think that prosecutor Juan Martinez's closing arguments were rather disjointed. But, of course, at this point, the only opinions that matter are those of the jurors. Juan Martinez wrapped up this afternoon. The defense does have one more shot, a rebuttal tomorrow morning, and then it's down to the jurors to decide whether Jodi Arias lives or dies for the murder of Travis Alexander. And, of course, we'll continue to monitor and have more on the day in court coming up at 6. We'll throw it back to you.
For months, all we've seen of Jodi Arias have been a few still photos taken in court each day. No rants from prosecutor Juan Martinez or controversial testimony from experts or witnesses. The judge in the case, Sherry Stevens, telling television stations not to broadcast footage until after the end of the trial. So for now, the only way to get live coverage is in person.
For me, it's the story that never completed.
It's actually quite different in the courtroom, and it's beyond anything I actually thought it could be.
The blackout, an attempt to avoid scenes like this. The frenzy of people who turned out at the courthouse when the first trial came to an end. Even so, there are still plenty who come each day to the courthouse to watch the proceedings in person, each with their own reasons.
People being that it's been almost 7 years just want to see that justice is finally done, and I just can't believe this day is actually really happening.
I'm really looking at the jury and wondering which way are they leaning.
I'm a taxpayer, and this is part of my taxpayer dollars at work, and we should be able to see what happens in the court of law.